What's good, everybody? RJ Sheldon here, back with another episode of BD Boys. Jimmer, how we doing, my good brother?
Brother man, it is a good start to the week. I am being currently attacked right now by this little turd. I sit down to do this great show, and I got this little freaking ankle biter. Stop it. You know when it's podcast time. That's enough. Get out of here.
Can't stand
Go
cats. No, I'm
get
kidding.
out of there. Get out there and be somebody. Yeah, but it's a great week. Family's in town right now. I spent the last 2-3 days with my family.
Good for
Out
you.
of town from Phoenix, New Jersey.
Right.
Make time for your family, and it's a great start to the week, man.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Obviously, this previous weekend, our Packers went ahead and faced the Cardinals. They went and beat them 34-13. Great win, especially, continuing to stack wins, continuing to go ahead and make that push to get in the right spot in the playoffs when they do come in, a certain time. 437 yards of total offense. Let's talk about Jordan Love. What are you thinking right now with Jordan Love overseeing? This is week 7? What are we thinking?
Looks healthy, doesn't
he?
Like,
looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, it looks like we are returning to what we saw at the end of last year. There's just nothing else really to say about his performance. He had one unlucky moment. It really was. I mean, Bull Mountain slips and guys just right there to pick off the ball. There's nothing. The only thing you could say is stay on your feet. Okay, well, that's about it. Other than that, he had a pretty clean game other than that, and it looks healthy. You saw him under center a hell of a lot more this week than he was against the Rams, and I think that's why I say he looks healthy.
Right.
Because if he wasn't healthy, he wouldn't be under center with that knee. So I think he looks pretty healthy, and that offense is getting back on a roll, man. And we had some slow starts the past couple games with him back. Minnesota, obviously, but then they turned on in the second half. The Rams, again, obviously, but then they turned it on again in the second half. And against Cardinals, they went 3-and-out, and it's just like, here we go again. Bad weather, really bad weather. My family was at the game, man, and they were like, it was bad in the first quarter. First quarter was horrible. Not a lot of people. They said a good amount of fans, maybe like 3/4 of the stadium was full at that point. And then second quarter was just a little drizzle. And then more people came in. And then, as we all saw, halftime comes out, and oh my God, it is sunny. It is a nice day. And then the rest of the game, they said, was no rain. It was a perfect second half. So that you saw them in the first half, be a little first drive. You're like, maybe they're having issues with rain. Nope. Guess what? They came out firing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They put the pedal in the metal, and they looked pretty in control that entire game. Maybe one little area or like one spot of the game where you're like, oh, here we go. Talked about it last week. They don't finish games, or like when are we going to see them? The opponent is drowning. When are we going to see them grab a garden hose, stick it down their throat, and turn the water on?
Right.
I think that was finally this game. They had their little hiccup, but then they just said, nope, it's not happening. They took back control of the game, and they probably played their second best game since beginning of last season. And obviously the first one being that Cowboys playoff victory. But I think this is probably their second best game since dating back to week 1 last season.
Yeah, no, definitely with you. I mean, just Jordan Love that game, 22 of 32 from the field, 258 yards, throwing 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. We had already talked about that interception. If it wasn't, slip or whatever it was, that would have never been an interception. But, well, we all know, if a quarterback's doing this, that the wide receivers are doing what they need to do. Talk to me about what's going on with the wide receivers right now, because they had a wonderful day that day.
It was a good day to be a Packer wide receiver. Jaden Reed got his, which I think if he's on the field, you just know he's going to get his.
Right.
I mean, they're by far all around best wide receiver. He can do a little bit of everything. He's the
Right.
gadget guy. He can be your gotta have it guy. His ball tracking skills and ball hawking, let's just call it that because we call it for safeties. Let's call it for wide receivers. His ball hawking skills are pretty good. He can go up and get balls. He's a good route runner. So we all know Jaden Reed would have gotten his. This cat is going to get murdered. And so then, but then, as I said, we saw the return. The offense looked a little stagnant last week, and I made it a point. You're missing 2 and 3, essentially. You're missing Christian Watson, who takes tops off of defenses, who
Right.
opens things up underneath more. And if you don't pay attention to him taking that top off, he does what he eventually did, which is, oh my God, well, Buda Baker just let him loose. And Jordan Love said, there you are. And he just unleashed a beautiful ball. It was so easy. That play, if you run it back, I saw that play for the all 22. All 5 receivers were open on that play.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's not good. That's not. That defensive coordinator for Arizona is going to look at that film and be like, "Just going to skip this one, guys. Y'all get an F right here for this one. Let's move on."
Right.
And but then we're looking at is how does Romeo Doubs respond after getting suspended last week, which we still don't know what was going on. I mean, we had our reports. Bill Huber, who writes for I'm pretty sure he writes for the Journal Sentinel, on what we think we know, but we still don't know what's going on. So we have to take that as it may. We move on. He's playing. He's practicing. Not only does he play, he goes and has a 2-touchdown game.
Right.
What made me really, really mad is the body police people coming out. Well, he doesn't look very happy. He had that touchdown. He was all nonchalant. That's who he is.
Right.
Like he's not the Jair Alexander type to run all the way down to the other side of the field with some sunglasses on. But he's a blue collar guy. He gets in, he does his work, gets out. He's not a man of many words. So I think people were looking a little bit too much into it, but he had a great game like he never left. Then you just had a couple other contributions from Devonta Wicks, like small, Tucker Kraft. Ben Sims had a really good game, the backup, the third string tight end actually, who's now the backup because Luke Musgrave is hurt. He had that big shoestring catch.
Yeah.
Not a great ball by Jordan Love, but Sims went down and caught it for a pretty big gain. But other than that, Josh Jacobs, that dude is a horse.
Yeah. Thank God we got him.
I mean, people were getting they lead the league in rushing right now. Like, that helps when you have a 250-yard rushing game against Indianapolis. But, like, Josh Jacobs is getting a little upset because he's not breaking those runs. Like, Aaron Jones would break, like, 10, 15-yard runs. He's not really doing that. I think his longest run is 27.
Right.
And that was against Indianapolis. And people are getting nervous, and I don't think people understand. He's averaging 4 yards a carry. I want to say how people realize how big that is, but I don't think they're getting impatient. They want the big chunk runs. They want those big explosive plays. Josh Jacobs can do that, but I think it's a different style running game than it was with Aaron Jones because I think they know he's going to be on the field longer. So it's more of the 4 yards in a cloud of dust. I mean, it's the same running scheme, but Jones hit the hole a little faster. Yes, he's a little faster than Josh Jacobs, but he's still averaging 4 yards a carry. I don't think you realize how much of a weapon that actually is to know every time we're going to hand the ball off, it's going to be at least 4 yards. I mean, that could be 2nd and 10 to 3rd and 6. That could be 1st and 10 to 2nd and 6. That could be 2nd and 8 to 3rd and 4. That could be 3rd and 2 to a first down. Like, with him averaging that, it is incredible, and he doesn't look like he's slowing down at
Right.
all. And so, um, Jacobs is just proving more and more that this is a great addition to this Green Bay Packer team, and they're not done yet, because I've said this to a couple people now. I think you were one of them. My cousin Steve was one of them. You want those big chunk plays, you wait until Marshawn Lloyd gets back. Because when that dude comes back, those plays that Emmanuel Wilson's getting, and you get him in space, you don't want Marshawn Lloyd in space. Because I watched him have only a handful of plays in Indianapolis, and that dude just was making pros miss like he's been there before. I was like, whoa, this dude's dynamic. So, Packer fans, hold on to your seats. Wait till he comes back. He had I think it was a hamstring issue, which is a nerve-wracking one. I know you're the one with the who's had hamstrings. You
Right.
replied, told me about how they affect everything. So hopefully he's eligible to come back. I think he was eligible to come back this week, because they put him on IR for 4 weeks. This was week 5, but he still hasn't practiced. So this is Tuesday. Tomorrow's the first day of practice. We'll see what he does. But I think they're going to be cautious with him, because they're getting production still out of Emmanuel Wilson. So there's no reason to rush him back. You don't want to rush those hamstrings back. So other than that, had a really good bounce back game from the kind of sloppy showing in LA. So that was perfect to see. No complaints about the offense whatsoever.
Yeah, no, and just some offensive stats here, just up to week 7. We're 27 points. That makes us 8th in the NFL. We're 232.8 yards passing. That makes us 10th. We are actually 2nd in rushing
Oh,
with
I suck again.
167.2.
Who's won?
TDs, I'm no clue. I'm looking at this.
Okay, that's fine.
Shout out to the Real app. Been telling you guys about this.
Damn.
Very good app. But we're 18th. We have 18 touchdowns. We're 6th in the NFL. And then yards per carry, we're 6.2, which is 4th. And turnovers were 1.3 at 11. So we're cracking. Literally, we're top
And
10, really.
By the way, that was all with playing with a backup quarterback for 2 weeks.
Hello.
Just in case y'all didn't know.
No. So that offense is playing really well, man. And if we can continue to go ahead and be in that top projectile, when it comes to being an offense, we're going to be very, very good from here on out. But let's get away from the offense and move over to the defense. Packers held a team to 13 points, continuing to go ahead and wreak havoc, causing turnovers, 3 fumbles. There's a lot of guys that I think we're going to probably talk about and highlight. There's some guys that I mentioned, but Walker had 10 tackles. Ballard had 6. Cooper had 5. Williams, McKinney both had 4. Guys flying around. Guys doing what they need to do. This is probably one of the – I'm saying it right now, probably one of the best defenses I've seen in my time, other than the 2010 defense.
Yeah.
That is like, okay, we can actually go ahead and get turnovers and create turnovers, but guys are wanting to do that. Like, guys are making plays when they're necessary, when they present themselves. Talk to me about the defense.
It's kind of like, I'm going to make this analogy because I know you will understand it, having played baseball.
Right.
It's kind of like hitting a baseball, right? You get that one guy who hits a hit. Now you get the next guy gets a hit. It's starting to get contagious. And that's what turnovers did. And Xavier McKinney started that in week 1 and carried it through. And now all of a sudden, like, people are getting hungry for the ball. It's starting to become, the only little worry is, and this is just nitpicky, like this is a little nitpicky, is that they're starting to live and die by it. Like, the Cardinals are driving a couple times, and then all of a sudden you get a turnover. Great. They didn't get any sacks, but counterpoint to that is they held Kyler Murray to 14 yards of rushing. Like, you'll take that. That's basically like sacking him 3 times, like sacking a normal quarterback, I'd say 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kyler Murray, obviously, we know what he can do.
Right.
So that's just a little bit of a worry because when you get down the stretch against those good teams don't turn the ball over. Now, yes, they are creating their own turnovers. Now, they had all three of their turnovers on Sunday were fumbles, which one of them was bad. The other two looked as in it wasn't just like putting a head on a ball. That's mine.
Yeah.
I want like the Carl Brooks fumble was. I'm gonna rip this out. The Evan Williams fumble. That boy looked like Muhammad Ali. That looked personal. Like that guy just stole some like his baby, like stole his child from him and said, "This is mine. Give me that back." And that was such a beautiful play from a rookie. And Carl Brooks is in his second year too. Like these young guys, man, are. We talked about this earlier with this new defense with Jeff Hafley coming in about how the attitude's going to get different. It looks different.
Right.
This is a different attitude. Now, and again, as I said, when one guy starts taking away the ball, now other guys are like, no, I want to take away the ball. No, I want to take away the ball. I want to take away the ball. So it's a good thing to see. Yeah, the sacks. The defensive line still. I'm surprised Arizona. That was a complimentary football game. Like again, offense did enough to where I was worried about Arizona's running game with James Conner.
Right.
Arizona couldn't run the ball. They got down in a hole so fast. So next thing you know, you don't have to worry about James Conner. You got to keep Kyler Murray in the pocket. Rashawn Gary played a better game. I think a lot better of a game. Kenny Clark was around the ball. Like you saw some improvements, but they've proved with running quarterbacks, they've shown, and now we've seen it with Hurts, Richardson, and now Murray. All three of those guys, I think the total between those three guys against Packers is 84 rushing yards.
It's
You
good.
don't those you don't some of those guys get that in one game against other
Right.
teams. Like the Packers held all three of them combined to that. So you're seeing these adjustments being made in the second half as well. From Jeff Hafley's defense. Like he kind of plays his game in the first half, like tries to see what the offense is doing. And then the second half, they're a second half ball club. They make their adjustments. Something we didn't really see under Joe Barry. It was Joe Barry's this damn cat, man. He usually he's gonna get killed. Um, it was different. So like, picky concern was McBride, the tight end for Arizona, had like what 90 something rushing, 90 something passing yard.
Mm.
It was a little different because yes, you don't want to give up that big play, but it's different. So Joe Barry did the same thing. He stayed in his too high shell. We're going to keep everything in front of us. But that was it. That was just keeping things in front of you to keep it in front of you.
Right.
This defense is go ahead, throw it underneath. We're going to rally to the ball. Like I think I heard something on the radio. I'm not going to repeat it because I don't want it to be incorrect. But the linebackers coach, they called it a new chapter in the Bible, and it had something to do with rallying to the ball. So they want to keep everything in front of them, but there's a reason for that. It's because Kyler Murray got frustrated. You could see it because he couldn't throw shit over the top. Why? It's not because teams can't, because the Packers are taking it away, but there's also they're wearing them down, getting them impatient. Like, man, I really just want to. We need to go. We need to take a shot. Setting you up for it because guess who's back there?
Right.
McKinney's the best center fielder in football. Best center field place in the safety to play football. They want you to do that. Try us. Because guess who's going to just roam the field? It's different. They do that to frustrate teams to get a quarterback maybe. You know what? Let's take a shot right here. Guess what? We're playing for that. We want you to do that. Because then we hope X is going to come over the top and hopefully take it away. So this defense, yes, they were giving up a bunch. When you're taking the ball away, man, you can't really complain about much. So you just hope they keep getting better week by week. And I loved, this was my biggest takeaway. Keyshawn Nixon their nickel package has been figured out. Okay. Keyshawn Nixon is now playing primarily outside. He's not playing inside anymore. He's primarily playing outside. Because Evan Williams has come in and impressed and has just had that nose for the ball, he is now playing safety in their nickel. And what you and I have been clamoring for, Javon Bullard has come up and is playing the inside in the nickel. So that nickel is set. And I think that is the most dangerous nickel that the Packers can set out. Obviously, when they bring a backer in to go 4-3, Bullard is back in his safety position coming into the box because that dude, again, he's a heat-seeking missile. He loves getting his nose in there and getting his nose dirty. Evan Williams will – John Kuhn said this, and when Kuhn says something, I take Kuhn what he says to heart. That man has been around so many good teams. He said he reminds me, and he's seen him in practice because he's employed by the Packers. He's the on-field guy for the Packers during the radio broadcast. He is doing things. He has the mannerisms. He has just the IQ of Micah Hyde. And we all know how great Micah Hyde was for the Green Bay Packers. And when they let him go, man, that was the absolute most head-scratching wrong decision ever. So John Kuhn's like, this kid is literally doing what Micah Hyde was doing, and this fucking cat's about to knock that chair over. So it's really great to see. And you saw more being in the middle as well, and Quay being better today. I mean, that's all I want. It's a new system. I hope things get better. Lucas Van Ness didn't really have a great game. Preston Smith had a really great game, actually. Like, that was a guy who kept sticking out to me where I was like, dude, he's around things. He's around the play. So this defense just keeps on improving, and now they're starting to find things where it's working. Like, again,
Right.
Keyshawn Nixon wasn't a very good nickel corner, but all of a sudden now they put him on the outside, and he's playing it well. So they're tinkering with things. They're finding a groove, finding a rhythm, while still also taking the ball away quite a bit. So this defense, I think, led by really young talent, is looking up and up for now, and they have a really, really good test coming up here next week where it could show a lot of things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just obviously, we all know about the takeaways. They get 2.8 per game as of right now, and that's first. Sacks right now, 12th with 16. Points per game. These are the two ones for me that really stand out because it's very hard to go ahead and do this in the NFL if you know football. Only 20.2 points that they give up, that's ninth, and only 110 rushing yards, which is eighth. If you're flirting still with that top 10 in those two categories, and you just talked about really figuring out our nickel package, our actual identity where guys need to be, that's only going to go ahead and go up. So I'm loving what Jeff Hafley's doing. I think me and you both were excited when we went ahead and heard his first press conference when he came into Green Bay. He's going to be a guy that's going to be there for a very long time. And I'm saying that very confidently right now because you can see what he's doing. He's got guys that he wanted in. They did their thing in the draft. They're seeing giving guys opportunities. They're capitalizing on those opportunities. And Hafley's probably scratching his head like, holy shit. Like, we got some guys.
He's got a problem. He's got a great problem on his hand. I got too many.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
and
golly.
You talk about getting his guys. Year one. If Brian Gutekunst, Jeff Hafley, and Matt LaFleur stay on the same page, they're going to be more guys. So, well, you hope so. But
Right.
This is year one, and Hafley only probably has maybe 4 or 5 guys of like Xavier McKinney's his guy. Edrin Cooper's his guy. Probably Jair Alexander's everybody's guy. Like you want that guy on any team. I mean, any defensive coordinator would be like, yeah, I want that one.
Right.
So this is year one. See, because there are some things it's too early to think about it after. Like, what are we in week 7? It's too early to think about it already.
Right.
well, who's going to come in next year? It's just way too early for that. But there's some guys on this team that probably won't be back, maybe not be here for long in the future. But that's a different conversation for a different day because it's we just got done with week 7 or week 6. I don't know. It all goes so fast. I don't even know what freaking week it is. It was week 6. It's gonna be week 7. But
Right.
it's year 1. If it's already showing improvement in 6 games in year 1, let's just give the man time and hopefully it just keeps getting better and better.
No, absolutely. Obviously, we got a big one this weekend against the Texans. Two, basically, I would say, face of the NFL at the quarterback position. Basically, to me, it's a Jordan Love versus C.J. Stroud game. Talk to me about your thoughts from the offense, and then obviously you can go ahead and head to the defense. But talk to me right now about what the offense needs to do to go ahead and contribute to get this win.
Kind of like what they did against Arizona. That running game that we talked about needs to be efficient. Control the clock. Just do your thing. Again, as I said before, the only defense that I believe could stop the Packers or some personnel that could stop the Packers is the Packers themselves. Try to play clean, no holding penalties, catch the ball, just the little things that get you there. Start fast, like you did against Arizona. Now this defense for the Texans is not Arizona. It's going to be better.
A little bit serious.
A little bit more of a serious thing, But if you control that running game, if you control the line of scrimmage, you play your game, play your offense, maybe get a shot play again like last week. You lull them to sleep with that run game, and next thing you know, Watson's crap. There he goes again. A really good chance to win this game. It's getting like a little vanilla because we know what they want to do. Like the Shanahan offense, the LaFleur Shanahan offense. They want to run the ball. They want to control the ball. They want to control the line of scrimmage, play action. They want to get a couple chunk plays, and then they lull you asleep again. And then next thing you know, they hit you with a reverse. Then they hit you with a play action. Like, we know what they want to do, and the only people that can, I believe, stop it is a game wrecker like a Max Crosby. Danielle Hunter's lined up that other side. You got to make sure you lock him up. If you let him run wild, it's going to be a long day.
Right.
But if you do all those things and everyone does their job, I don't think there's really a defense that could stop this offense if you play a clean game. Don't turn the ball over. Like, be smart with the football, Jordan Love. Don't throw it in triple coverage, even though you did it against the Rams and it worked. Don't do that. So we've seen this Texans offense be held in check before. It can be done. But if you get off to a fast start and C.J. Stroud, you get that crowd in Lambeau up, C.J. Stroud playing on the road, he may try to force a couple things. He may make some mistakes. Jeff Hafley might disguise some coverages. He might catch him napping every now and again, get some pressure on it. If this offense starts fast like it did in Arizona, it's going to be a problem for Houston. So offense just needs to start fast and play a clean game. Like, again, wow, great analysis, Jimmy. It's only every team in the NFL need to do that. Yeah, well, come on. If you look at it, the Green Bay Packers are one of the most penalized teams in the NFL. Right. So keep the formula that works for you. Run the ball with Jacobs, control, yada, yada, yada.
No, and then obviously, last but not least, the defense. What were we thinking with them going into this game? You did hint on it a little bit. Obviously, C.J. Stroud doing a little bit of disguise coverages, making it a little tough on him. Elaborate on that for me.
I think you might see your Jeff Hafley roll his coverages a little bit, try to maybe catch a robber in there with his safeties. Look, it's two safety look, bring it in, or a one safety look, then he brings it out. Press coverage, try to get press coverage with a blitz maybe, like on a third down, get C.J. Stroud. It's going to be the same thing. He's athletic. C.J. Stroud's athletic. Don't let him escape with feet. You have to, and I kind of said this with the Arizona game as well. Again, great analysis. But you have to James Conner's one thing. Joe Mixon is a totally different dude. You have to stop Joe Mixon. If you don't stop Joe Mixon, it's going to be a problem. And then that keeps Jordan Love off the field, it keeps the offense out of rhythm. Maybe get a takeaway or two, give Jordan Love a short field maybe once. But first things first, stop Joe Mixon. That's a big key. We're about to see a matchup that never disappoints, like a matchup within the matchup, and that is Jair Alexander against Stephon Diggs. Those two, second to Jair Alexander with Justin Jefferson, they do not like each other. Jair gets under Stephon Diggs' skin every now and again because that's just Jair's game, but Stephon Diggs don't like people talking at him.
Right.
That, going back to when he played in Minnesota, they get after each other.
And the Bills too.
They played that one time in the Bills, and they were yapping in the tunnel. Those two bring fireworks, and they bring must-see TV. But then you got the other matchup within the matchup is going to be Javon Bullard if it's in the nickel, or Keyshawn Nixon if Tank Dell goes outside versus Tank Dell. So this offense, and then Dustin Schultz, it's going to be the linebackers versus the running backs and tight ends, which I think is number one. And then number two is obviously going to be your corners against your wide receivers. But can Rashawn Gary get pressure? Can Kenny Clark? I don't know about Devontae Wyatt. If Devontae Wyatt comes back for this game, that's big because he's their best interior lineman as of right now. Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary had some good games. Hopefully they can build on that. You need to get CJ Stroud. You need to put pressure on him.
Right.
It's a noon game. The forecast is 72 degrees. Weather ain't going to be a factor. Sunny and 72. Couldn't ask for a better Wisconsin day, except I'd rather be 45. That's just me. So weather's not going to be a factor in this game like it was in Arizona. I'm perfectly. I think I'm not going to be off when I say this. I think this is going to be a track meet.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I think this is going to be a track meet. I don't know why this game's at noon. It should be It should be Sunday Night Football. If you look at, here we go again. Here comes James and RJ's famous tangents. If you look at the schedule of games this week, there is so many great games that you would go, why aren't these on Sunday Night Football? Well, after today, I answered it.
Right.
Before today, you had no answer for it. Like, why do we want to watch the Steelers and the Jets? Well, that question was answered today, which is a totally different topic. But, I thought this game would have been so sick because the Packers are unveiling their whiteout uniforms.
Yeah.
They're going to look – I thought under the lights at 7:15 at Lambeau Field would have been an absolute perfect time to do it. But I guess we'll settle for noon. They could wear it again. I don't know. But we'll do that another time.
No, right.
But again, I think this game's gonna be a track meet. We have some come down to special teams, which is kind of an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Which just broke Tuesday. Now we're at 9:30 on Tuesday right now. Broke maybe an hour, 2 hours ago.
Yep.
And so go tell the people the breaking news.
You go ahead.
We had sound effect.
Go ahead, brother.
Well, the Packers just signed Braden Arvison, their kicker, and signed Brandon McManus, who was just approved off the commissioner's exempt list as of, I think it was yesterday or today. So that is an absolute huge upgrade at that position. Brian Gutekunst showed that he is not very patient with special teams players. He worked out today with the team. Obviously, he impressed, and they signed today, all in one day. So I think that veteran calmness, veteran been there before. Now, his percentage in his last season he kicked, which I think was 2 years ago. I don't know if it was last year. I think it might have been halfway through last year, was 81%. Brandon Anders Carlson, who got cut by the Packers, who kicked all the last year, was 81% as well. Some people might be like, well, what are we doing? Well, Dennis was 35 of 35 from extra points last year. How many games did the Packers play themselves out of? Maybe 2 or 3 where they missed an
Way
extra
too
point.
many. Way too
Where
many.
missing an extra point makes it making the extra point makes it a 2-score game, and then by missing it, you make it a 1-score. Or you make the extra point, you're down 3, you only need a field goal to tie it. Well, you missed it, so now you're down 4, and you need a touchdown. Those little things are what I think Gutekunst is really looking at, because the 81%. If he cared about the 81%, then he wouldn't have signed him, because Anders Carlson did the same thing. He's looking at the extra points, which I think he is, which Narvdog has made every single extra point this year, but he's missed one kick every game, at least. So I think he's willing to live and die by the veteran presence. If he's going to go 81%, it's the veteran presence. Hopefully he just has that veteran leadership, been there, done that before in the NFL for a pressure kick and then the extra points. So it's a big thing. It's exciting because that was the hottest kicker free agent on the market. Other than that, they were probably going to live and die with Narvdog, which we all know is basically at, I think his field goal percentage is 67%. That's basically a coin flip. Like, we're 17% from a coin flip. And he's last in the NFL by 5% for kicks. So good move. We'll see if it works. Hopefully it does, because if we get a kicker along with this offense, it would make a difference. I mean, again, those little mishaps make differences.
Yes, they do. Get your popcorn ready, as T.O. would say, because this is definitely going to be a great game at noon between, obviously, our Packers and the Texans. They do play at noon, and I believe that is on CBS, which is bullshit, as we just said, because it should definitely be a primetime game. But it is what it is. Moving on. How about our Badger football? Dominating the
Yes,
Rutgers
sir.
42-7.
Dominant.
Total offense, 549 yards, 240 in the air,
Gee.
309 on the ground. I think they've been hearing us when we talk about they need to get back to their old ways of running the football. Walker had his hands all over this game on the offensive end. 24 carries, 198 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And the defense has been playing lights out. Mike Tressel's been doing a great job with those guys. Ever since they went ahead and had that little hiccup, which I think it was a good test for them against USC. They've came back and bounced back, went 2 games. You're saying they were going to make a bowl game. They're looking like they're trying to. Just talk to me about this game. Talk to me about the good old Badger football right now.
I think we're looking, as I said last week, Braden Locke looks like he's getting more comfortable in the offense. Well, now we just found the number one guy for the backfield. I mean, Chez Mellusi, I've been hearing he got hurt. I've been hearing he's taking a leave of absence. I don't care. All is well with him regardless. But Tywee Walker, transfer from Oklahoma. He was a fan favorite at Oklahoma, but he couldn't get on the field because, Oklahoma's Oklahoma. I mean, there's so much talent in that program. So a third-string running back at Oklahoma, not that he's a bad running back, is, again, you're playing in the SEC now, Oklahoma. Right. You're not playing in Big 12. So he couldn't get on the field, and he came to Wisconsin. It took him a little bit to get on the field, and then all of a sudden, again, as we just saw, Luke Fickell looks to be getting back to kind of a more of a, I can't say a pro style offense, but it's not the air raid.
It's like West Coast. It's like West Coast and mixed with I would say West Coast. Like, it's not air raid. Like,
it's not spread air raid. No. But it's seeing the pass to open up the run, which usually you use the run to open up the pass. Right. But when you're running for 300 goddamn yards in a game, that's going to really open up some other things. They had a drive starting on their, I think it was 10 or 11 yard line. 4 plays, 89 yards, minute 45. That was Tywee Walker for 40. That was another little throw, like run for 7. another, well, they said 4 plays. I don't even remember the play. And then a 45-yard bomb, touchdown. All right, time to get off. We're done. Like, what? That's explosive. Maybe Rutgers came out and got punched in the mouth, and they just didn't know how to respond, which is fine. But this Badger offense is adjusting to what their strength is, and what their strength is, and what it is you and I have been talking about it. You can't run air raid with this offense. You can't. You're not built for that. You have good athletes on the outside. You don't have great. CJ Williams, I think, could be great if you use him properly. USC guy, transfer in from USC. That anybody who comes from USC who plays wide receiver, you think is a fast, blazing at like what they have right now at USC. You're proving that you can't run him with air raid, not because he's not good enough, but it's just not the offense that's built around it. So use your 300-pound big boys up front, wear down a defense, and then lull the secondary to sleep. Maybe run some short passes, and then next thing you know, over the top. It's getting back to a little bit more of a normal offense, not an air raid, but as you said, West Coast, but it's all out of the gun. He went under center a couple times, which I was like, hold on, timeout. I had to stop him, like, what? We have that? I was like looking around, like, did we have that? And so Luke Fickell is starting, and Phil Luongo, after the Alabama game, after the USC game, kind of locked horns a little bit, because Luke Fickell was like, yo, we need to run the ball more. And Phil Luongo was like, yeah, that's not my style. But it looks like they're starting to get on the same page. They're bringing in what Luke Fickell wanted to do, which is run the ball more. And guess what happens? They start not just beating teams. It looks like the old style Wisconsin beating teams. Like, they are beating teams, and they are controlling. That defense is getting after people. So it was a really good statement when, like, hey, Purdue may be bad, which is as bad as Wisconsin made them look. Like, it was belts to ass. But, like, Rutgers isn't as bad as everyone thinks. Wisconsin just played a great game, and now they go to Northwestern in Northwestern. And I know you've played in Northwestern.
Yes, I have.
And I've seen some really good teams in Wisconsin in our day. The Melvin Gordon, the Monte Ball, the PJ Hill, up and down Rose Bowl teams that have gone into Northwestern and laid an egg and lost. This game scares me, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter how bad Northwestern is.
Right.
I've also seen some teams in Wisconsin that have been in turmoil where Jimmy Leonard had to take over as the interim, and they go in and beat them 35-0. You just never know what kind of Northwestern is going to show up. You need to be careful, and you need to be on top of your game, because if you're not, and Northwestern gets going, that's a tough place to play, even though it's a weird place to play, it looks like. So, yeah, I mean, it's a trap game for sure. I mean, Northwestern can beat anybody. They just compete.
Right, and that's the biggest thing about when you think of Northwestern, that they're always going to go ahead and compete whoever they're playing against. They had a big win this past week against Maryland at Maryland. Basically shut them out. Couldn't do anything. Maryland couldn't do nothing on the offensive end. They scored, I think, probably 30-plus points, 3-3. It's definitely going to be a trap game for the Badgers. But I think, God, you score 52 points against Purdue. You score 42 against Rutgers. You guys are rolling right now.
You can't get complacent.
And exactly. I don't think that they're going to get complacent. I think they know now and I just know, like, when you have those momentum, like the games like that, like me being, able to go ahead and sit in teams to where we've kind of had that momentum rolling in the Big Ten. You're like, all right, like, we know our identity and we know what's going on. Like, we figured it out. We know what we need to do on the defensive end. We know what we need to do on the offensive end. Coaches and players are on the same page. You got your quarterback situation squared away. You got your personnel squared away. And obviously, this might be a game where it might be a tight one, but you're going to come out on top. And I think right now that's where Wisconsin is at, from top to bottom, from head coach all the way down to whoever's in there player wise. So definitely going to be a good game, though. It is at 11 o'clock, which is early. So those guys got to be ready to go. I know when I play 11 o'clock games, I was not woken up till about halftime.
God
But,
damn,
but no, I
that's
think it's
early
gonna be.
today.
Yeah, it's crazy how early it is. But I think this is gonna be a good game. But again, this is like you said, trap. But I think
You got to
there's
play
still.
your game. Play your game. I think Wisconsin still wins, but you just get nervous. It's not. Yeah, we've had I've seen plenty of times teams better than this team in Wisconsin by margins go into Northwestern and not come out with wins. So
True.
it always just I mean that could go for any team in the Big Ten really, but Northwestern especially, just like something doesn't sit right in your stomach. Where you're like, this is not like, if you're not on top of your game, they're gonna come. They compete. They're scrappy. They're gonna come out and they will pull one out on you. So
Right.
should be physical, that's for sure. That's what always Wisconsin Northwestern is physical. So I think the defense will shut down Northwestern if they want to play a physical game. That's something Wisconsin loves doing on the defensive end. They love physical football. So if Northwestern wants to try to out physical Wisconsin, they're gonna have a rough time of it. So
Yeah. Well, for my good people, we're definitely going to have football on. Got the Packers obviously on Sunday. You have the Badgers on Saturday. Bucks will be coming here around the corner. If I'm looking at my calendar here, we got
I
about
think it's next
next
Wednesday.
week. Yeah, next Wednesday. The regular season is starting. So we'll definitely be giving our 2 cents on that. Jimmer, appreciate you. Obviously, go
Hey,
ahead and follow everything that we have social media wise: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that good stuff. Appreciate you, Jimmer.
hey, thanks for having me. Let's just finish out this week strong.
Absolutely. Peace out, y'all. We'll see you next time.